we were told to essentially ignore the alleged rape of a 9th grade girl at a school in Loudoun County. We were told that the father, being very angry about this at a school board meeting, was demonstration that parents were effectively domestic terrorists. You'll recall that in Loudoun County, there was a father who was treated as though he was a violent threat because he came to a school board meeting and protested the fact that the Loudoun County School Board was pushing trans bathroom policy while simultaneously covering up the alleged rape of his 9th grade daughter. And he got pretty upset because that seems kind of upsetting, right? And then the School Board Association, National School Board Association, wrote a letter to the FBI and the DOJ asking for prosecution and investigation of members of the general parental community who are angry at school boards. Well, now, as it turns out, the actual criminal activity was not by the father. The actual criminal activity was by the transgender girl who was a boy who was apparently serially raping girls, allegedly, and the superintendent and spokesperson for this particular school board. Now, it's only covered in the New York Times, not covered in the Washington Post. It is covered by the Daily Wire. It is only because Luke Rosiak, our excellent reporter in Loudoun County, actually did the research on this and figured out what happened with this angry father instead of treating him as a pariah. And the cultural gaslighting at the top level is the dad's the bad guy. The superintendent of the school district is good because the superintendent of the school district buys into the woke nonsense that boys can be girls, girls can be boys, and a boy who pretends to be a girl is actually a girl and should go into the girl's restroom, even if he is then engaging in the alleged anal rape of a girl in the bathroom. So here is the latest in that story. And this wouldn't have happened without the investigation of Luke Rosiak. Quote, 2 top officials of a Northern Virginia public school district were indicted Monday for their roles in the handling of a bathroom rape by a skirt-wearing boy after the Daily Wire revealed the apparent cover-up last year, court documents unsealed Monday showed. Former Loudoun County Superintendent Scott Ziegler, who was fired last week, was indicted on 3 misdemeanor counts of false publication, conflict of interest prohibited conduct, and penalizing an employee for court appearance. Spokesman Wade Byard was indicted on a felony charge of perjury, according to court records. A week ago, a special grand jury released a 91-page report that confirmed the findings of the Daily Wire's October 2021 expose, determining that Ziegler told a bald-faced lie when he dismissed concerns about a proposed transgender policy by denying that there had ever been any bathroom sex assaults, despite knowing that he attacked on a 9th grade girl just a month earlier. The grand jury said that Ziegler's administration also concealed from the public and even the school board. The same boy went on to sexually assault another girl in a classroom, with school board members learning about it from a report in the Daily Wire. The grand jury pleadings painted a devastating picture and showed that, quote, throughout this ordeal, LCPS administrators were looking out for their own interests instead of the best interests of LCPS. When the Daily Wire asked Bayard last week about the grand jury's fact-finding report, he sent a statement attributed to school board chief Jeff Morse and vice chair Ian Sirotkin that said they were pleased that the grand jury had not indicted anyone. The Daily Wire noted in response to Bayard that Attorney General Jason Mayaris had pointedly said the grand jury was still running. On Monday, Bayard did not return a request for comment on his own indictment. The school board fired Ziegler on Tuesday, a day after the grand jury report, but fired him without cause, apparently giving him a $350,000 golden parachute. An indictment for the misdemeanor of false publication said, quote, on or about June 22nd, 2021, Ziegler did unlawfully, knowingly, and willfully state, deliver, or transmit by any means whatever to any publisher a false and untrue statement, knowing the same to be false or untrue concerning any person or corporation with intent that the same shall be published. June 22nd was the date of the school board meeting at which Ziegler cited Time magazine to lecture parents that, quote, we've heard it several times tonight from our public speakers, but the predator transgender student or person simply does not exist. So, again, amazing stuff here. This stuff ends in criminal activity and indictment, but you're supposed to ignore it until apparently it is uncovered by Luke Rosiak. And even then, it doesn't deserve a follow-up report because that would run counter to the desires of the countercultural elite, the transgressive elite who are now cramming down the morality on literally everyone. We're supposed to pretend that none of this ever happens, that everything is good to go. Turns out that the control of the commanding heights of culture, handing that over to the transgressives, has some pretty devastating side effects, including for individuals like 9th grade girls who get raped in bathrooms by boys who are pretending that they identify as girls or some such nonsense. And by the way, now would be an excellent time to know that Luke Rosiak, our investigative reporter over at Daily Wire, we can only have investigative reporters because people like you subscribe, people like you sign up over at dailywire.com. Like you should become a Daily Wire Plus member so we can do reporting like this as well as you get all the rest of our great material. But it is Luke who uncovered this, and it is Luke's action on this that has led to the indictment now of a public official who lied to the public about whether, in fact, it was safe for transgender bathrooms to be established. And he did it on the basis of false data. Now, I promise you, by the way, that on the other side of the media ledger, let's say that this story had happened in a Catholic school. Let's say that what happened in a Catholic school is that a boy was allowed to go into a girl's bathroom and rape a girl, and a parish priest had been in there and seen, apparently, part of this happen. And then later, there had been a press conference at which they were asked about their bathroom policy, and the priest had said, no, we've never seen anything like this. That would be a church cover-up, right? That's the way our culture works. The way our culture works is traditional institutions that sin are demonstrations that the traditional institutions are evil. Meanwhile, left-wing or secular institutions that create policies that facilitate evil. When that sort of stuff happens, it's an exception. It's an exception, or we just ignore it. It doesn't happen at all. We can't cover it at all. This is part and parcel of the broader problem of how we cover institutions in a secular society. When there's a massive cover-up in the Catholic Church about the abuse of children, this is deserving of Oscar-winning movies like Spotlight. This is deserving of mass cultural criticism, which it is. But has there yet been a major story in a major newspaper about the spate of sexual abuse in our public schools? Because I promise you, there's an enormous amount of sexual abuse that happens at the nation's public schools. There are literally 100 million kids in our public schools. So I promise you, there's an enormous amount of abuse in these public schools. There's no reason to suggest that Catholicism is the reason for the sexual abuse. There's also been no investigation into many of the favored organizations of the left that deal with children. There's just a lot of pretending that nothing bad could possibly happen because, after all, you hold the right perspectives. If the idea, this is true across the board, if the idea is that any institution is so vulnerable that critique of the institution results in its collapse, and thus critique ought to be forbidden, you know that the powerful are attempting to censor. Now, the Catholic Church, which engaged in a cover-up, now does not engage in cover-ups of those behavior because the Catholic Church has been durable for a couple thousand years. The Catholic Church will survive, it will thrive, it will continue to have 1 billion adherents. When it comes to America's secular left, they are so scared bleepless of the consequences of their own philosophy because that philosophy is deeply connected with sexual liberation and autonomy that they can't allow stories like this to see the light of day. Only Daily Wire reports on this. Again, another reason for you to go get membership today over at Daily Wire. Shocking moment. Female-to-male transgender ice hockey player is tackled to the ground and concussed by a much larger male-to-female rival at controversial NHL-backed tournament. So the headline, by the way, on Twitter was a little bit shorter than that. The actual headline on Twitter was, "Moment trans woman hockey player concusses trans male rival." Now you read that, you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. What the hell are you even talking about right now? Now I'm going to read that headline in English. Ready? Moment male hockey player concusses female hockey rival. That's the actual headline. A male body checked a woman into the boards and she got a concussion. Now, in a normal society, you'd be like, what in the world is a male doing on the hockey ice with a female and checking her into the boards? What in the world is happening? What sort of decent society allows a male to essentially bludgeon a woman so long as they are pretending that he is a she and she is a he? Like that's a societal question, is it not? But we're all supposed to pretend that this is good. In fact, this event was sponsored by the NHL. According to the Daily Mail, a female-to-male transgender hockey player was left concussed after being knocked to the floor by a much larger male-to-female trans opponent during a controversial NHL-backed tournament. Danny Mackey was knocked down and left concussed following what appeared to be an accidental rough hit at the team trans ice hockey draft in Middleton, Wisconsin late last month. The incident has only just been reported by Quillette magazine, whose journalist Jonathan Kay suggested the two-day tournament had been subjected to a woke cover-up. Mackey was subsequently accused of self-censoring what had happened on Instagram by describing the incident as an odd fall, despite himself sharing the video, which clearly shows he was tackled. Well, he is a she. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing right now. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be getting into Kyrsten Sinema declaring that she is an independent and Bernie Sanders declaring that he might back a Democrat against her in Arizona. Plus, we'll get into the mailbag. If you're not a member, click the link in the description and join us.